What's up, guys? I believe we're live. First time using a new software, so bear with me here. But yeah, just wanted to come on here and give my final thoughts for the card as a whole. Something new that I'm doing here on Karma Media. So I'm not sure what the turnout's going to be. Kind of set this up last second, but from now on, I'm going to be doing this every single week, like an hour before lock, answering any final questions you guys have and all that good stuff. Kind of going through the card as well. I know this card's not the greatest card by any means. We have, 9 fights left. We lost the Angela Hill fight, Ashley Yoder fight. We lost the Menafield and Knight fight. And we lost the Oliveira and Kurmagomedov fight as well. So, yeah, not many fights, but still another opportunity to make some money. So, what's up, everybody? As always, if you can leave a like on this video, subscribe if you have not yet to Karma Media, that'd be awesome. And, yeah, like I said, new thing we're doing here. Hopefully I'm live. Not sure, but hopefully I'm live here. But we'll kind of get into it here. Talk some strategy for DraftKings. I know DraftKings is a little bit weird today because only 9 fights. And I'll kind of talk about some ownership as well. But yeah, we'll kind of go through fight by fight. If you guys have any questions, as always, just ask them in the chat. I'll get to you guys as soon as possible. All right. So we'll start with the first fight of the night, which is Dustin Jacoby versus Maxime Grishin. And I mean, every single fight's going to be important for DraftKings. I mean, we have 9 fights, so only 6 going to be on the optimal lineup. I do think this is one of the fights you should definitely target. I have a decent amount of exposure to these guys. I think I have a slight lean on the Jacoby side, and I do like Jacoby in this fight. The only thing I'm concerned about is Maxime Grishin missing weight by almost 5 pounds, and we kind of seen that last week where Jared Gordon missed weight by 5 pounds, and it did benefit him for sure, but I don't know. I like Jacoby here. I think Jacoby is going to have a massive striking advantage, a massive speed advantage as well. And the only thing I'm concerned about is Grishin holding up Jacoby against the cage, maybe possibly taking him down. But just watching the tape on Grishin, it's just not something he does. So I'm going to have a decent amount of Jacoby. You guys know me. I love targeting the first fight of the night, and I'm going to have a decent amount of Jacoby there. But at the same time, if Grishin wins, he's not much of a finisher, low output, but maybe he does get takedowns. So I think it's a fight you do want to target both sides. But I'm mostly going to be on the Jacoby side here. As far as like a betting perspective, I think Jacoby wins, but what is it, like minus 160, something like that? Not all that interested. I see you guys in the chat. What's up, Michael? Appreciate you being here. What's up, Andre? How you doing? What's up, BP? What's good, Brady? Man, if Rivera wins tonight, or he wins, I'll have a big night. I'm with you. If Rivera wins tonight, I'll have a fantastic night in betting. But as far as DFS, not much Rivera, but I do have a pretty decent amount of them for betting as well. Yes, sir, on DFS Karma now. All right, so yeah, first fight of the night, I do think that's going to be somewhat important. And this next fight, we have Ronnie Lawrence versus Vince Cachero. Kind of struggling with this one. I mean, take a look at the records. Ronnie Lawrence is 6-1, 7 total fights. Vince Cachero 7-3, 10 total fights. Not much experience on either side. I just think it's a great stylistic matchup for Ronnie Lawrence here and a great stylistic matchup for DraftKings. Honestly, I think that if it does go to plan here, if he does go out there and implement the game plan of going out there, getting takedowns, getting control time, I think Ronnie Lawrence could be one of the bigger scorers today on DraftKings. So I actually have a pretty decent amount of Ronnie Lawrence just because you kind of have to. It's only 9 fights, but then again, I do think he has a ton of upside. So I have like near 50% Ronnie Lawrence. On the flip side, as far as Vince Cachero, I don't know. A lot of question marks with this fight as a whole. Really low-level fight. I do have some Cachero, but I just don't see how he wins. Is he going to win by knockout? I don't necessarily see it happening. Lawrence does have himself a chin, and Cachero is not really a power puncher. But I like Lawrence here a lot. I'm going to have a decent amount of Lawrence on DraftKings. Definitely a core play of mine. But as far as betting goes, I was tempted in betting Lawrence here. I think it's like minus 155 now. That's not a bad line. Even like the decision props, something you could look at as well. But just a low-level fight, something I really don't want to put my money on, honestly. But yeah, DraftKings, I'm going to have a decent amount of Lawrence. Hopefully it works out. But on a 9-fight slate, you're going to have to go a little bit crazy on these ownerships. Like my ownerships are crazy. I'm playing pretty much everyone. I think my lowest owned exposed is going to be Jimmy Rivera. And I'll talk about why. But I have a pretty decent amount of Ronnie Lawrence for sure. All right, so we'll take a look at this next fight. I think this next fight is very interesting here. We have Alexis Davis versus Sabina Mazo. And I'm not sure. I think that Alexis Davis is very live here. I think she needs to go to that wrestling, and just watching tape on Davis, it's just not something she does. But I mean, she's got to know that if she does not come in here and use her wrestling, it's not going to be a good night for her. So I think she should come out here. She needs to come out here, get takedowns. And if she does, I think she can win this fight. Whether it is by decision, I don't necessarily see a submission. But I do think that she could get some control time, some takedowns, rack up a decent score. So yeah, I don't hate Alexis Davis, especially at her price. As far as Sabina Mazo goes, I have some of her because kind of have to on a night fight slate. I don't love it. I don't see her getting any takedowns. I don't see her getting any control time. Pretty hefty price there at 8,900. But I do have a little bit just in case maybe she does put on a ton of volume, and that's something she does. She does use a ton of volume. Maybe she finds a late finish. But mostly my interest is kind of on the Alexis Davis side. So Alexis Davis, I have about, let's see, have a decent amount of Davis, like 23% around there, which is not bad. She's sitting at a decent price tag as well. So yeah, I don't hate Alexis Davis as a pump play. As far as Sabina Mazo, have like 20% somewhere around there for Mazo, just in case she does get a finish. But other than that, I don't really see her scoring high. So don't want to go too crazy on it. BP in the chat here on Davis. I like it. I see a lot of people on Davis. I definitely agree that the line's probably off. And she has a path to victory. I mean, we've seen Mazo taken down. We've seen her controlled. I think the small cage is going to favor Alexis Davis as well. So definitely interesting play there for sure. And I don't think she's going to be overly owned as well. Michael says, a Davis by decision, not a bad look, but if it stays on the feet, Mazo pieces her up, and I 100% agree. I mean, Alexis Davis has got to know that she needs to get this fight down to the mat, or she's going to get pieced up all day. 100% agree with that. So, yeah, as far as a bet, I'll tell you right now, I wouldn't touch the minus 200 on Mazo, but if you're looking for a value play, a live dog, Alexis Davis isn't the worst option in the world. She's faced 20 times better competition. Maybe Alexis Davis by decision is something you could look at as well. But yeah, I think on DraftKings, I'm going to be a little bit higher on the Alexis Davis side, just because if she does win, I actually think it scores decent with her takedowns, her top control. But the reason I am picking Mazo straight up is just because I haven't seen enough of Alexis Davis go out there and get takedowns. So Alexis Davis by decision is plus 250. It's not bad. But personally, I don't want any of my money on this fight, but on DraftKings, it will have a decent amount. All right, next fight we have Alexander Hernandez versus Thiago Moises. Yeah, interesting fight here. I do think the line's a little bit too wide. Let's see here. Alexander Hernandez is sitting at like minus 220. I mean, kind of wide. It's still a little bit unproven for me. I know he's at a better camp now. I do think he's going to be making some improvements, but just going back and watching the tape, like the dude does slow down quite a bit as the fight goes on. He could be on the chinny side. He's been knocked out twice, and Moises isn't somebody that's going to knock him out or anything like that, but I do fear that if this fight does get extended, if Moises does, make this a grueling fight, pushes him against the cage, maybe takes him down, I'm kind of interested to see what happens at that point. I'll tell you right now, I'm definitely not betting Alexander Hernandez at minus 220. I don't really want to play the Moises side either, but I will say the line's off, I think. I think the line's off. I think this fight's going to play out closer than the line indicates. As far as DraftKings, this is where it's tricky, and since this is a 9-fight slate, I'm going to have some exposure and have a decent amount. I think Hernandez can bring a decent style for DraftKings. I don't necessarily think he'll go out there and get takedowns. I wouldn't recommend that, but he can. I think he's going to throw a ton of volume as well. On the Moises side, don't have much Moises. If he does go out there and get takedowns, he could score well. But, man, this is kind of a tough fight for me to really call. I'm going to pick Moises. I think the line's off. He's somebody that's making improvements. I know Hernandez is making improvements as well, but Moises, young himself. Like, Moises is 25 years old, training at a great camp. And we're seeing massive improvements each and every fight with Moises, whether it's his striking or his takedowns as well. So I will have some Moises on DraftKings. Picking up straight up. Am I going to bet him? No, I'm not. Just want to stay away from this fight from a betting perspective. But I don't hate the Moises side here. But I do see a lot of love for Alexander Hernandez. I do get it. But I'm going to take a shot on the dog here. All right, so this next fight I think is very important for DraftKings. I'm going to have a massive amount of this fight. Let's see, I have 51, like 90% total of this fight. I think it's going to be very important, especially on a 9-fight slate here, just due to the fact that Kevin Kroom is going to bring it. He's going to bring the fight to Caceres. I do think the small cage is going to favor somebody like Kroom. Caceres is going to want to stuff the takedowns, stay on the outside, and pick apart Kevin Kroom. And Kroom is not going to let that happen. He's going to come forward. He's going to land hard shots. He showed that he had power in his last fight against Roosevelt Roberts, and he's dangerous. He's dangerous. So Alex Caceres is somebody that has been submitted 6 times. He's been finished 7 times in his career. If Kroom's able to get this down to the mat, I think he can have a ton of success. But going back and watching the tape on Kroom, his wrestling is not really it's not great. But he does have ways of getting it to the mat. Whether it's taking the back standing, he can do that. Or he's just relentless with the wrestling. It's something else I like as well. So I think Kroom could possibly get takedowns, could possibly get control time. And I wouldn't be shocked at all if Kroom either hurt Caceres on the feet or if he did get him down to the mat, submitted him. I mean, Caceres is somebody that has made mistakes on the mat and plenty of them time and time again. So I like Kroom a lot. I do think he's going to be one of the higher-owned underdogs, and for an absolute good reason. For one, there really isn't many dogs that are alive here. There's a couple, but on a 9-fight slate, there's not much. And then for 2, a lot of people want to fade the Caceres side, and I definitely get it. I think it's a fight that should be lined a lot closer. I don't hate a shot on the Kroom money line. I think this fight, honestly, should be lined 50-50. Just because of the type of style that Kroom's going to bring, I do think it's going to present a lot of problems for Alex Caceres here. But on the flip side, this is where I think it gets interesting. So Alex Caceres, I think, is a very interesting play. Nobody's going to play him. He's going to be low-owned as far as 4-9 fight slate, low-owned. Nobody's going to play this guy. He's somebody that typically does not score well, typically, doesn't win much as well, and the whole world, it seems like, is on Kroom. So I will have some Alex Caceres. I think this is a really sneaky play. I think it's a really low-owned, sneaky play here. And I did notice that when Kroom does go for takedowns, he does leave his neck really exposed, and Caceres is more than capable of getting a submission here. So I actually will have some Caceres, believe it or not, at 8,800. I know it seems expensive, but there really isn't much to go off on this slate. So I think Caceres at a very low ownership. I will have a little bit of Caceres, but most of my lineups are going to have Kroom in them just because I like him to win, and I think he has a lot more upside as well. Michael says, it's really unfortunate for Caceres that this fight is taking place in a small cage. I agree. I think the small cage does hurt a guy like Caceres. And then it says, Kroom is consistently pressuring his opponents. Yep, he is. And Caceres is somebody that does not really deal well with pressure, and that's all Kevin Kroom is going to bring. And there are some concerns people are saying about the gas tank. I mean, he's somebody that has been 5 rounds before. His gas tank really, to me, is not a problem, and especially since he looked fantastic at weigh-ins as well. Yeah, I like Kroom. I like Kroom as a bet. I like Kroom on DraftKings, but on the flip side, I will have a little bit Caceres just because of how low-owned I think he's going to be. So I do think it has potential to be fight of the night. Kevin Kroom, I mean, this dude's exciting. He said it himself. He said this fight is not going all 3 rounds. Taking his word for it. Hopefully there is a finish in this fight. So we're through 5 fights so far. We have 4 left to go. So far, like I said, I like Kroom as an underdog. I think Davis is a pretty sneaky underdog as well. I don't think she's going to be crazy owned, and all these ownerships are going to be inflated because there are 9 fights. I think Ronnie Lawrence is a very good play with his takedown upside, and then I think Jacoby Grishin is something to target. Not a fight I love, but on a 9-fight slate, there really isn't much, so you kind of got to go there. All right, so this fight is really interesting, especially from a DraftKings perspective. I'll tell you guys right now, straight up, I like Jimmy Rivera to win this fight. I like him as a bet. I like the money line at like -145, -150. But as far as DraftKings goes, I don't really like the Jimmy Rivera side on DraftKings. He's somebody that he will throw a decent amount of volume, but with this new DraftKings scoring system going from 0.5 significant strikes to 0.4, even if Rivera wins and lands 100 significant strikes, he's probably not going to get on the optimal lineup at 8,300. I don't really see him hitting value. He's not going to go out there and get takedowns. Why would he get takedowns against Pedro Munoz? That makes no sense. He's not really going to get control time, maybe a little bit against the cage, but probably most of the time this fight stays on the feet. Rivera is not a finisher. Rivera actually has the second worst finishing rate on the slate, right behind I think Sabina Mazo or Alexis Davis. So Jimmy Rivera is not a great finisher whatsoever, more of a decision guy. And on the flip side, Pedro Munoz has never been knocked out, and Rivera's obviously not going to submit him, but Munoz has never been submitted as well. So from a DraftKings perspective, I kind of like the other side in Munoz, and I don't necessarily like him to win, but this is, somewhat of a close fight. And if Munoz wins, I actually think that it's going to be by a finish, and I don't think it's all that likely, but like I said, on a 9-fight slate, there really isn't much to work with. Munoz has some decent power, has a decent guillotine, if he can hurt Rivera, he could probably put him out. I mean, Rivera is somebody that's really tough, only been finished once by strikes in 27 fights, but it can happen. It can happen. So I actually have like very little on the Jimmy Rivera side on DraftKings. I like him more as like a money line bet. And on DraftKings, I have more Pedro Munoz than Rivera just because of the price and because of Munoz does win. I think he wins by finish, believe it or not. So more Munoz for me, not going crazy on it. If there's like 12 fights on this slate, I'd probably completely fade this fight. But since there is 9 fights, I do think you're going to want to have somewhat of it. But yeah, I have around like 20% Pedro Munoz, 20%, 25% Pedro Munoz there. As far as Rivera, like less than 10% Rivera, if that. Just because I think if he wins, not going to be any takedowns, probably not a finish, and just significant strikes. And at that point, with the new scoring system, doesn't really fit well. David says Kevin Kroom by sub is plus 326. It's not bad. It's not bad. I think if he does win it, there's a good chance that it is by sub, but that line has got hammered. I think it opened up at like plus 400 and something, but yeah, some money has come in on that sub prop, and probably for a good reason. Caceres has been submitted 6 times, so I wouldn't be shocked if that happens. But at that point, you probably just take the money line on Kroom there at like plus 160 or plus 170. What's up, Tony? I see you in the chat. How you doing? All right, so yeah, like I said, not much interest in this fight. The next fight, I have, I don't love it, but I have a crazy amount of ownership on this fight just because I do think it's going to be important, and I think both fighters have a style to score well on DraftKings. I think the prices for both fighters are good as well. And I don't know, I have a decent amount of both fighters here. So as far as De La Rosa goes, if she's winning this fight, she's going to get a lot of volume. She's going to be getting takedowns. She's going to get control time. I think if De La Rosa wins, she actually has a very high ceiling in this fight. I mean, Bueno Silva has shown that she can be taken down, she can be controlled, but if there's going to be an arm bar from guard happen on any fight on this card, it's going to be this fight right here. Bueno Silva is definitely live. Definitely has a dangerous guard. She's submitted Robertson off her back. I believe she submitted Mara Morello off her back as well. So yeah, De La Rosa probably is going to get some top control, but she really needs to stay safe. And why I kind of am leaning to the De La Rosa side is because De La Rosa has only been submitted once, and that was like 5-6 years ago by Mackenzie Dern. And so is Silva the same level of Mackenzie Dern on the ground? No, she's not. But she's still decent, so it's definitely possible that Silva does get that sub. But if you're banking on a sub for Silva to win, because I do think the striking is going to be close, and I think De La Rosa, if the striking is not working out, she can revert to that wrestling game. I don't really see why Silva's the favorite. I really do think this line should be flipped, honestly. I know people really don't like De La Rosa, but this just seems like a good matchup for her. But it is dangerous. I mean, she's going to be in Silva's guard at points. She needs to stay safe, not get submitted, and I know sometimes it's harder. Sometimes it's hard for women's MMA fights. We see it time and time again. Armbar from guard, but it really does seem like a good matchup for De La Rosa. As far as Bueno Silva, I don't hate it. I do think if she wins, it's by submission, maybe a decision. But yeah, the armbar from guard is live for Silva. I do have a decent amount of Silva, and I do have a decent amount of De La Rosa as well. I have like 70% total of this fight, which seems like a lot, but 9 fights, there's really not much you can do there. So the pick for me straight up is going to be De La Rosa. I don't hate her as a bet whatsoever, especially because I think she should be either a slight favorite or this line should be a straight pick 'em. But don't be completely shocked if there is an armbar from guard situation going on here. But yeah, I do think that fight is actually kind of important there. All right, so getting into the co-main event and main event, I'll come out right and say it. I think both these lines are off. I think both these lines should be a lot closer. Like seeing Magomed Ankalaev, I know the dude's a beast, probably future title contender, but to see him at like minus 400 on some books, minus 450 on some books, it doesn't make sense to me. And Krylov is going to be easily the toughest competition he's faced. And just going through the career of Ankalaev, you got to look at who he's faced. Like Paul Craig, which he lost, which was kind of a fluke, but still. Klidson Abreu, Dolce Langambula, Ion Kudalaba, Marcin Prachnio. I mean, this is going to be a very, very tough test for Magomed Ankalaev. Can he pass this test? Yeah, I think so. But should it be minus 450? No, he really shouldn't. I mean, Nikita Krylov is somebody that is extremely dangerous. This guy has a 97% finish rate. In 34 fights, he's been the distance twice. Once versus Johnny Walker and once versus Glover Teixeira. Other than that, he's either getting finished or doing the finishing himself. I want to say he's been subbed like 6 times, and he's been knocked out like once, something like that, or he's been subbed 5 times, been knocked out once, but he's been subbed quite a bit. Ankalaev is somebody that I want to say he has like 1 submission on his record. I don't really see him submitting Krylov, nothing like that, but I think it's a lot closer than line indicates. So I do have a decent amount of Ankalaev, and I do have a decent amount of Krylov as well, because I do think this fight's important. I think especially considering the style that Krylov is going to bring, he's going to force Ankalaev into an absolute war. And I do think Ankalaev can succeed in that war. On the feet, it's going to be Ankalaev all day. Krylov is very hittable, but he does have a good chin. Krylov has only been knocked out 1 time, which is very interesting. And the 1 time he was knocked out was at heavyweight in 2013. So does Ankalaev knock him out? I'm not so sure. And if he doesn't, how well is Ankalaev going to score on DraftKings, especially at 9,300? I'm not so sure about that as well, and I do think he's going to be one of the higher-owned plays on the slate. But as far as Krylov at 6,900, I mean, I'm going to have a decent amount. I have around like 30% Krylov. If he wins, it's going to be inside the distance. If he wins, it's going to be in the optimal lineup. No debate on that. And just way too cheap. I think this fight should be lined a lot closer. Should Ankalaev win? He absolutely should, but this is going to be a test that it's a big step up. It's a big step up going from Ion Kudalaba, Dolce Langambula, Klidson Abreu, Marcin Prachnio, Paul Craig, to Nikita Krylov, somebody that's fought some legit competition. And we can't look into it too much. I know Ankalaev's made improvements, but Paul Craig, someone with not the greatest wrestling in the world, took down Ankalaev twice. If Krylov takes down Ankalaev, I'm really interested to see what happens. But honestly, this is probably the fight I'm most looking forward to on the card, just because I think Krylov is extremely live, and I don't hate a bet on Krylov. I don't know if I'm going to pull the trigger myself, but I think the Krylov line is off, whether you want to bet him straight. The sub prop was like plus 900 last time I checked. Krylov inside the distance is like close to plus 500, and that's probably how he wins. I'll tell you right now, Krylov probably does not win a decision, so I think a Krylov bet is not the worst idea in the world, but I know a lot of people are going to go out there and parlay Ankalaev. I get it. The dude's legit, but I'd definitely be cautious, especially around the minus 450. I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to this fight, and I have a ton of it on DraftKings. I have about, I want to say close to like 82% total on DraftKings for this fight. I do think there's a really good chance it finishes and a really good chance it scores well just due to the style of Krylov, but I'm definitely looking forward to seeing this fight. All right, let's see what we got in the chat. Austin says DK lean for the Moises fight. I'll tell you right now, I have more Alexander Hernandez. I do think he has probably the better ceiling from a DraftKings perspective, but I do have a little bit of Moises as well. But if I was to pick one, I'd probably take the Hernandez side just because of the amount of volume he's going to throw. He does have finishing ability. I think if there's a finish on either side, it's probably Hernandez getting that finish there. But I do have some Moises as well, just in case he does get takedowns, get top control. I don't necessarily think there's going to be a lot of volume from the Moises side. Maybe he finds a submission. I mean, the dude's a legit black belt, but if I was to pick between the two on DraftKings, it'd probably be the Hernandez side. Tony says, do you think the Krylov versus Ankalaev goes over 1.5? I don't know. It's tough because the majority of the Krylov fights finish in the first round, but we have seen in his past 2 fights, the past 2 fights have went to decision with Glover Teixeira and Johnny Walker. And I don't know. I think if it does finish before the 1.5 mark, it's going to be because Krylov went out there and got that finish. I think he has like 20, 21, or 22 first-round finishes. So I think if it does go under, it's going to be from Krylov. But if it goes over, I think that Krylov's chin does hold up. And like I said, he's only been knocked out once in the heavyweight division. So I'd say yes. But if you bet the over in that fight, you're going to be sweating the whole time. I mean, not something I do personally. It should hit, I'd say, but you're going to be sweating. I mean, it's going to be hard to enjoy the fight, I'll say that. But I'd say it does go over, but just can't put money on it personally. Thomas says De La Rosa is now the favorite at minus 120. Yeah, I did see that. Actually. Yeah, De La Rosa A lot of money coming in on her. Was not expecting that line flip, but yeah, I do see that. Minus 120, minus 115 for De La Rosa. Interesting. Really interesting. Was not expecting that. So hopefully you got in early at minus 120. Probably wouldn't pull the trigger then. But if you got plus money, fantastic. I think you're on the right side there. But yeah, interesting there. Interesting. So we'll kind of get into the main event, and do have a lot of the main event. I have around 90% exactly of the main event in my lineups. And yeah, I think it's important, obviously. Heavyweight, we saw last week, I don't believe the main event was in the optimal lineup with Derek Lewis getting that second round knockout, but that was because every single fight absolutely went off. But this is a fight, especially in 9 fights, I do think has a really good chance of finding the optimal lineup. So I do have it in the majority of my lineups with a lean on Cyril Gane. And I've said it all week, like, I think Cyril Gane's better everywhere outside of the power and outside of the experience. Whereas Rozenstruik hasn't beat there, but I think Gane has a really clear path to victory. I think he has multiple paths to victory here. Whether it is, picking apart Rozenstruik on the feet, I think that he's going to be throwing a ton more volume than Rozenstruik. Rozenstruik is one of those guys that is kind of low volume, really sitting back, picking his shots, and that's fine because we saw it last week, and everybody knows in the heavyweight division, it only takes one shot. So I think that he's definitely live. 100% he's live. Would I touch Cyril Gane at minus 250? No way. No way. But I do think he's the better fighter. But sometimes we see that sometimes the better fighter does not win. And I think there's a clear path to victory for Gane here. The clear path, I'd say, would be taking down Rozenstruik, working in that ground game. I've seen Rozenstruik put in some pretty bad spots. And I got to bring it up because it's something you got to bring up. I mean, taken down by Rozenstruik, taken down by Overeem, Rozenstruik was twice. Really didn't have much to offer off of his back there. And then against Junior, Albini was taken down twice as well. Albini was able to get into mount so easily. I got to say it, I just can't get it out of my head, but Albini was able to get him out easy. He was able to take Rozenstruik's back easy, like made it look easy, but Rozenstruik was ultimately able to reverse him. But of course, that is Junior Albini. And if Gane gets on his back or if Gane gets into mount, the fight's going to be over. So although I do think Gane should go to that wrestling, grappling game plan early, do I think he will? I don't know. I thought Curtis Blades would go to that game plan early, but we all saw how that worked out. But I do have like 90% of this fight. If you're looking for a pump play, Rozenstruik, great. I mean, he's a heavyweight fighter. It takes one shot. Would I be completely shocked if he knocked out Gane? Not at all. Not at all. Because he does have a ton of power. 91% finish rate for Rozenstruik. Gane, of course, has never been finished, but the dude only has 7 fights. Hasn't really fought the best level of competition. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this fight. I think the co-main event and the main event are fantastic fights. Like, I'm looking forward to them a ton. And that's where the majority of my lineup exposure is going to be, on that co-main and main event as well. So going to have a ton of exposure there. As far as a bet, I mean, honestly, it's dog or pass for me on both the co-main or main event. Don't love it, but I'm not laying minus 250 for Gane. I'm definitely not laying minus 450 for Ankalaev. I know there are going to be a lot of parlays with them in. Wish you the best of luck. They should hit, but I just think the lines are off, honestly. So, yeah, I'm going to take Cyril Gane as a straight-up pick. Not really going to parlay it or anything. I think the line's a bit too wide. I was taking a look at the Gane inside the distance prop. I think it's like plus 100. I actually really don't hate that, but I'm just going to sit back and watch. I know it sucks not having any action on the main event, but just don't like the line here. So, but yeah, really good fight here. Let's see what we've got in the chat. PayPal, what's up, PayPal? Haven't seen Rozenstruik on the mat since AT&T move. He says his ground game is much improved, and I do believe that. I really do believe that. So yeah, I do expect to see improvements for sure. What's up, David? David took fight doesn't go to decision at minus 260 earlier. Happy to get it early for the main event. There you go. Yeah, I think the main event does finish. There's a lot of money coming in on the overs. On fight goes to decision. I don't really agree with that at all. I mean, I thought, and everybody else thought that Derek Lewis Blades would go over 1.5. It did not. And everybody else thought the Overeem and Volkov fight would go over. It did not. We got to remember that these guys are heavyweights. They hit hard. You're going to be sweating those overs. So I wouldn't play any overs, especially with the lines at now. I think the over 1.5 is like minus 230. There's just no point in doing that anymore. But yeah, the fight doesn't go to decision at minus 250 is probably some decent value there. Let's see what we got in the chat here. PayPal says he already has pretty good takedown defense. I think he does initially, yeah. But we really haven't seen him, stuff as many takedowns as I'd like. Overeem was able to get him down twice. Overeem not really a wrestler, but yeah, we'll see. What's up, Jay Bones? How you doing? Great stuff. Michael says Gon has shown some really nice cage IQ thus far in the UFC. He's going to have to be smart to win a 5-round fight against Biggie Boy. Yeah, he's gonna have to mind his P's and Q's. It takes one shot as well. Andre says Mazo Krylov or Hernandez Kroom for single entry on DraftKings. Let's see, Mazo Krylov or Hernandez. I'd probably go Hernandez Kroom, honestly, because Mazo, I'm not really in love with Mazo. I don't think she scores well, even if she does win. And I really do like Kroom a lot, and I think Hernandez, if he does win, it scores pretty well. And yeah, guys, you can get all my core plays for the DraftKings and FanDuel props by signing up at dfskarma.com/shop. Very good stuff going over there. You get access to the Discord, all that great stuff. Lots of sharp guys over there. Really, really lots of sharp guys over there. So check that out. But yeah, so just kind of final thoughts on the card, and then we'll head out of here. Woke up this morning, saw that Hill Yoder was off. A lot of people were really upset. I honestly wasn't too upset. I didn't have much exposure on it on DraftKings. I think I had 10% total of that fight, so it didn't really change anything for me there. I kind of shifted my Hill exposure to a little bit of Mazo, I guess, but really didn't change the slate for me as a whole. So wasn't too worried about it. Didn't really care about the fight, to be honest. Anyway, I wasn't going to lay the minus. It was like minus 500 almost for Hill, which is crazy. But slate as a whole, I think it's a tough one from a DraftKings perspective, just because we have 9 fights. It's always tough when there's 9 fights. There's going to be a decent amount of ties, which it sucks, but it is what it is. You got to get a little bit different. There are some low-owned plays I kind of talked about. I think that Alexis Davis kind of low-owned. I think that Caceres kind of low-owned. I think plays like that can really separate you from the rest of the field. But yeah, as a whole, the slate, it should be fun. Should be a nice quick card. 9 fights, should go fast. I believe the start time's at 6:30, unless they took it back a little bit, but believe it's at either 6 or 6:30, not sure, but it should be a fun card. So, but yeah, guys, if there's not any more questions, I'm going to head out, and yeah, just wanted to remind you guys to like the video. Really does help it a ton. Subscribe if you are not subscribed yet. I'm going to be on here quite a bit. Also have some stuff going on my channel as well. So yeah, lots of content coming your guys' way. So next week, kind of the content schedule for next week, going to be getting out a DraftKings video here on Karma Media, going to be doing like a betting video on Karma Media, going to be doing a live stream with me and Tyler, I believe on Thursday at 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern time, and then every Saturday here, an hour before lock, kind of talk about the fights for about 30 minutes, 45 minutes, answer any final questions, kind of go over the card as a whole, talk some DraftKings, talk some betting. So kind of the schedule for the next week and into the near future as well. So lots of great stuff coming over here. Hit the sub button. You're going to see me on here quite a bit. But yeah, guys, good luck. Like I said, tough card. Should be fun. The co-main event's awesome. The main event's awesome. Some good fights scattered throughout the card. Kevin Kroom fights should be good. But yeah, I'm going to head out, guys, and good luck on Saturday. If you have any questions, you can hit me up on Twitter, DFS_numbers. Usually pretty good at replying. And yep, see you guys soon, and good luck.